morning on our special series, Access Granted, a remote area of the U.S. where a few men and women hold the fate of millions of lives in their hands. At this moment in central Montana, there are 200 long-range nuclear missiles deployed and ready to respond to a nuclear attack on America.
Al Roker is on top of one of those missiles at Malmstrom Air Force Base near Great Falls in the first ever live broadcast from a nuclear missile launch facility. Al, if we can get your image up. Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Matt. I guess we're having a little technical problem.
There we go. We got you now.
You can see me now. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm standing in a specially... yeah, as you might imagine, there's just a little communications issues here, given all that goes on here. But we are right now in a specially designed truck called a payload transfer van. Down this hole behind me is a live nuclear weapon, a Minuteman III missile. If the president gave the order to launch, the Air Force would evacuate us right now and fire this missile within minutes. It's 60 feet tall, can carry up to 3 nuclear warheads, and can reach targets up to 7,000 miles away. "200 Minuteman missiles are deployed in these concrete and steel-hardened silos underneath these launch facilities. Today, the men and women of Malmstrom Air Force Base secure and maintain the country's largest nuclear arsenal. Tactical response teams are on alert 24 hours a day to handle any breach in the perimeter of the launch facilities. These sharpshooters are armed to the teeth and authorized to use deadly force.
We realize that this is the nation's strategic deterrent, and without these deterrents, who knows what nations out there would like to rise up and do to the United States. So we understand the gravity of our mission and take it very seriously.
That mission started here in the United States after World War II. The U.S. Army recruited German scientists who had already developed the world's first missiles for the Nazis to help launch America's first missile program. Those who didn't come to the U.S. fled to the Soviet Union, and the arms race began. As tensions mounted between the United States and the Soviet Union, both countries escalated the production of their nuclear arsenals at an alarming rate, following a strategy known as mutually assured destruction.
The idea is that each country has so many nuclear weapons, and they can be delivered so quickly that each can destroy the other country, and thus no one can win a nuclear war. So if no one can win a nuclear war, then the idea is that no one would start a nuclear war.
That theory faced its toughest test during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. A Soviet plan to deploy missiles on the Caribbean island put the world on the brink of nuclear war, before President Kennedy worked out an agreement with Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev. Construction of the first Minuteman Launch Control Center just up this hill was completed less than a month before the Cuban Missile Crisis. Later, President Kennedy said the Soviets backed down because they knew about his ace in the hole, the long-range missiles deployed here at Malmstrom Air Force Base. For the next 3 decades, American presidents worked with their Soviet counterparts to scale back the arms race until a major breakthrough in 1991.
The first time that the United States and the Soviet Union have agreed to reduce their arsenal.
Since the signing of the historic START I treaty, leaders of both superpowers have worked together to remove 80% of the world's nuclear weapons. But almost 20 years after the end of the Cold War, protecting the country's nuclear arsenal is still a full-time job. And here live inside the payload transfer van, joining me is Senior Master Sergeant Timothy Ryan. He is a Security Forces Superintendent keeping this safe. Sergeant Ryan, right now we're in this maintenance van. Most of these silos are only a few dozen feet from highways here in Montana. What stops people from trying to get in here?
Well, sir, traffic does pass by these every day, hundreds of cars every day, but we have security sensor systems out here that will detect anybody that tries to access the site. The systems are so sensitive that if a rabbit runs through the site, a response will be required. Security forces respond out immediately, and if we detect potential hostile situations, our tactical response force will team up with our mobile fire team forces, and that force together will be enough to stop any hostile that would occur out here.
Well protected. How many Minuteman launch facilities are there like this in operation right now in the United States?
Well, sir, there's 500 launch facilities within the United States. There's 200 at Malmstrom Air Force Base here in Montana. There's another 150 at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota, and another 150 at F.E. Warren in Wyoming.
I mean, this is one of the most deadliest sites going. These gentlemen have to work here constantly. Well, let me bring in Sergeant Ngala, Sergeant Dan Ngala. Come on in. Once they're all secured and they're all working here, what is this like? You're part of this maintenance team. You oversee this. Working in a cramped area like this with one of the most deadly missiles on Earth.
Well, sir, it's working in a cramped environment such as this really facilitates the technicians and their capability to monitor the safety of the weapon system, and equally as important, the safety of each other.
Right, now, for safety reasons, you've got the live missile intact underneath. But tell us what's going on right here.
Well, sir, what they're doing here is they're taking this training re-entry system, and what they're preparing to do is lift it up from the forward area of the payload transporter. They're going to bring it to the floor hatch section, and they're going to lower it down and perform a detailed inspection on the shroud and prepare to install it on the missile itself.
You're dealing with missiles. If you come over this way, you're dealing with missiles that are more than 30 years old, and they've never been launched. How do you make sure they work when we need them?
Well, sir, the role of maintenance in this weapon system is to constantly modernize and upgrade the weapon system. In the last 3 years, we've replaced every major subsystem in the missile, and we have things such as follow-on test evaluation programs where we actually pull a missile from a site up here. We ship it to Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, and they perform a test. They actually launch it to a test.
Make sure it's working. Sergeant Ngala, thank you so much. This is, I got to tell you, unprecedented. And I tell you, when you watch what's going on here, you have to be impressed with the precision that the Air Force works with this. Right now, you don't see the very top there, the nose cone. That's not on right now, but once they lower that back down into the payload bay, they'll put that all together. And again, 3 nuclear missile warheads in there. We're not allowed down in there, basically because there's so much danger that even just touching the missile could actually set off some explosives. Not the nuclear part, obviously, but because of static electricity, there could be problems. So we're staying up here because we want to make sure everybody's safe. Guys?
Yeah, they're keeping you up there, Al, for sure.
No question about it. The pressure that the people who work there have to be under is just enormous.
Incredible amount of pressure, and they perform this every day.
All right, Al. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Al.